Thank you.
I will take both the Lincoln Public Schools budget adoption item and the next item down, which is the Lincoln Public Schools property tax request, and cover both of those in this presentation, if that's okay with all of you. I see President Boswell nodding, so I'll recognize that to move forward.
You might need to wake up.
One of the first things that we do during the budget process each year is we look at our strategic guiding forces in the school district. So the All Means All Action Plan is something that has been at work for a while. That was one of the guides to the decision making related to the budget. So when we were making decisions based on needs that were brought forward, we would look at what can impact some of the goals of the All Means All Action Plan. We also looked at the common themes that Dr. Gosman reported to us the end of April, and where could investments be made to continue to advance those common themes. And we know the district is currently in progress with strategic planning and is well underway in that process and we're going to begin working with the community on some of that strategic planning, which will guide budget decisions in the future. So I think it's always really important to look back and look at how far we've come. So each year, based on board policy, the Finance Committee presents a calendar to the Board of Education by March 1. So in February, we brought a calendar of all the different dates and tasks that would need to occur to file a budget. So you can see we worked specifically in the month of June, where we had work sessions. We also had community forums. We had quadrant forums this year because the Finance Committee felt with the significant rise in valuations that property owners were going to be experiencing, we wanted to make sure that we got lots of information out into the community. Presentations with community groups. We had a second work session in July, and then we are now clear into September. We are having first reading of the budget. We will then have the property tax hearing that's required as a joint county property tax hearing a week from tonight, and then 2 weeks tonight the budget will be before you for consideration. So this budget is funded predominantly through property taxes, almost 61% through property taxes. It's important to point out in Nebraska, that's the structure we have. We look to property taxes as the first funding source. You would also notice the decrease in state aid, but the increase in special ed. We spent a lot of time talking about those shifting funding sources. This gives a snapshot. You will also notice that we are looking to the future. We always use a 3-year forecast. That is because when we see large increases in valuation for the school district, the following year we have a drop in state aid. So we are anticipating we'll have a significant drop in state aid next year. During the budget presentations, we were estimating that at about 25+ million. Our expenditure budget for the general fund, you can see that we are predominantly almost 90% personnel costs. So when we roll forward from one year to the next and we look at rising salary and benefits, health insurance cost, that is the vast majority of our budget growth. Just as a reminder to the community, we are opening a new school this year in Standing Bear. We already opened it. And we looked at things like early childhood and other needs throughout the school district for investments. So we always have what's called a one-pager that's part of the budget process. And at this point, we really just rely on that one-pager to give a summary of all of that great work that we did together over the summer months. So this one-pager kind of line items out the various budget investments based on needs for the school district. This looks at all funds, because as we go through June, we really focus on the general fund. Historically, our general fund levy was $1.05, and so that was the majority of the school district's $1.21 levy. So we would spend time through June on the general fund, and then our July work session, we would look at all funds. So this is where you could see a summary of all of the funds for the school district and what the proposed revenue and expenditure budgets would be. We have a number of funds that interact with each other, so an item might be budgeted in two places. So for example, we have a partnership with the Career Academy. So we have the Career Academy budgeted in our general fund as an expense. However, we share that through the cooperative fund with Southeast Community College and act as the fiscal agent. So this is our unduplicated. When we take those duplicated amounts out, a look at our all funds. This is a copy of the hearing notice that will be sent and noticed in the paper for the final phases of adopting the budget. And here's a copy of the budget document that goes along with that. So we are very much in the legal component as we've already started the school year as developing the budget. Here's the final tax request notice that will go in the paper. So this will go September 17th along with the budget, and these are the final forms that are needed to adopt a school district budget. And one of the things that occurs every year is we have to build a budget based on an estimated valuation increase. So as we worked through the month of June, we were estimating the valuation increase at 22. The actual certified valuation increase that we received the end of August was 22.5. So this details what the levy changes are being proposed on the budget that is currently before the board and before the community. You can see that the levy reduction is close to 14 cents. It's 13.7 cents. We had planned for it to be 13.1, but with that little bit of increase in valuation, the levy comes down a little bit more. The biggest reduction is in the general fund with 11.5 cents of a levy reduction there. So once again, throughout the process in June, we talked about the needs of the school district. We also talked about the rising valuations, and we talked about how reducing the levy could offset some of what a property owner might be experiencing with their valuation increases. Just to give you an idea of how significant the levy change is, this gives you a look back going about 20, 30 years back of how much the levy reduction and how meaningful it is compared to the context of history. So I am always available for any questions. I will share that today, I brought my pink postcard with me to work because I knew we probably would be getting some calls. All those calls are going to me, and then I'm talking to each constituent that is calling. We had maybe about 18 or 19 calls between yesterday and today. They were, as of 4 o'clock, I had the call log, and all of those have been returned and connected and spoken with everyone but 2 people. And everyone has truly just sought information and just wanting to understand the numbers they're looking at, wanting to talk about the school district process. I've referenced people back to our website, which is an amazing resource. Our communications team does great work. They can watch videos from work sessions on how we came to the decisions in this budget. They can look at all the key dates and all the process that goes into our budget development. I've also worked hard to share with people who are calling the idea that our levy did reduce 14 cents. So that was this board working really hard, prioritizing, making some tough decisions, and that levy reduction this year based on the valuation increase. So people received a pink postcard. This is required by law. This is a new state statute, so the information on here is required by law by the Nebraska legislature. And what this postcard does, it is letting people know how much their taxes, including our levy reduction, based on their value would be going up. I will say that in the column marked estimated change, that is an annual amount. I talked to one constituent who thought it was a monthly amount today. And so we're actually going to make the recommendation that the word annual be put in there because that would sure be shocking and scary potentially. So we do want to make sure that people understand what they're looking at, that they understand our budget process, that they understand how priorities are set, and that we're able to answer any questions they have. I would talk to one constituent who said, my neighbors actually went down, and I said that's because we reduced the levy, and if they had maybe 8, 9, or 10% property value growth, their taxes to Lincoln Public Schools could feasibly go down. That is a real thing. This person then was confused why theirs went up. When we looked at their valuation, it had gone up closer to 25%, so above the average. So that is why that person was experiencing a tax increase. So the situation situation is honestly different for every single homeowner, and I'll be committed to talking to people, helping make sure they understand, helping they know where to look for resources, and answering any questions about the postcard. And like I said, everyone has truly just been thankful for the information and thankful to have someone to answer their questions for them.
Thank you. Dr. Standish.